What's up, pups? Hope you're doing absolutely amazing wherever you are inside this beautiful matrix. My name is Saint Wolf, and welcome. We're going to do some news today. The Honorable Mr. Gensler is getting destroyed by Tom Emmer in front of the whole world, and we're just going to enjoy this moment. I'm sure right now he's plotting his revengeance, but for now, we're just going to enjoy it. And then I'm going to do a pDAI update after that, which is going to be very cool. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, like the video, and watch all the way to the end, because then I'm going to do a quick chart update for pDAI so you guys know where we're at. All right, let's get it. All right, let's just start with this guy. This is going to be great. Okay, it's just a few minutes long. All right, let's watch it.
Leadership comes from a lot of things, but the top matters a lot.
It's yes. The answer is yes, sir. But under your leadership at the SEC, it appears that you expect political allegiance, not just from the political appointees, but also from the civil servants you hired. Isn't that correct?
That is not correct, sir.
Well, sir, that's yet another deliberate distortion of the truth. The House has obtained emails between you and your now Director of Training and Markets. He interviewed with you and then sent you a follow-up email reassuring you, sir, that he aligned with your political views. So, that to me seems like you expect political allegiance from the people that you hire as civil servants at the SEC. The way you hire and the culture you require encourages your staff to have loyalty to you above the law and above the mission of the SEC. Which brings us to the debt box case in Utah, where your attorneys, who no doubt heard your anti-crypto rhetoric, which is not based in law, went out and deliberately lied to a court in order to effectuate the commands from their chair to prosecute crypto companies. Chair Gensler, do you know of any other time in history where the SEC has been sanctioned by a court for material misrepresentation?
First, if I might say, when we hire folks, we hire them.
No, reclaiming my time, sir. The answer to that question is no, it has never happened. But let me ask you another one. Does the fact that we're talking about this today even slightly embarrass you?
Look, the matters in that case were not well handled, and we've said that to the court.
Reclaiming my time again. The debt box case should absolutely be embarrassing to you, sir. And just to be clear, the SEC had to pay with taxpayer dollars nearly $2 million in legal fees for this material misrepresentation, for this lie. You are aware of that, I'm sure. Is the debt box case the reason that why the SEC's head of crypto asset and cyber unit resigned in June, sir?
No, they went to take another job.
Okay, so no one in a senior level position here in Washington, D.C. has been held responsible for this complete abuse of taxpayer dollars. The SEC broke the law, your attorneys lied to the court, and no one in your leadership here in D.C. has been held accountable. That tracks. Seems like business as usual here in Washington. Okay, switching gears very quickly. It's been recently reported that Vice President Harris has finally said she'd craft clear rules of the road for the digital asset space if she becomes president. Is this your approach too, sir? Or do you think she's rebuking you because she doesn't think you've done a good enough job establishing these clear rules over the last 3 years of her administration?
I think that there's laws in place. If Congress wishes to change them, they'll change them. But we are enforcing the laws, and there are many people in this field
so you don't
that are
think
not
she's
following
rebuking
the laws.
Reclaiming my time. Well, it's very interesting that you view your performance that way, because we have a litany of court cases, extraordinary confusion in the marketplace, and millions of Americans pining for clarity from you. You've abused the agency's enforcement tools, and you've even baited companies eager to comply with you, only to hit them with enforcement actions. You've retaliated against businesses and people who have come before this committee to talk about the next generation of American finance. And perhaps somehow, worst of all, you've made up the term crypto asset security. This term is nowhere to be found in statute. You made it up. You never provided any interpretive guidance on how crypto asset security might be defined within the walls of your SEC. Yet, you made the broad proclamation that you believe a majority of tokens are crypto asset securities. You did this, and you would deliberately use this made-up term as the basis for your entire enforcement crusade over the past 3 years, only for your lawyers to retract it in a footnote to a court just last week. Your inconsistencies on this issue, sir, have set this country back. We could not have had a more historically destructive or lawless chairman of the SEC. And I yield back.
Wow. He just got destroyed. All right. Destroyed. Now, what do we capture in there? One, they know that there's an abuse of power happening, all right, by the SEC. That's obvious. I think everyone recognizes that. And Senator Tom Emmer, who's from, I believe, Minnesota, the 6th District, he made that very clear in this video. There seems to also have been something called, what was it called? The Lockbox or something?
Views.
A company?
So, encourages your in Utah, where your attorneys, who no doubt heard your anti-crypto rhetoric, which is not based in law, went out and deliberately lied to a court in order to effectuate the commands from their, you know of, reclaiming my...
And the other thing he noticed is that the culture of the SEC serves Gary. It doesn't serve the people or the laws, which is what he's expressing here, that they're operating far outside the law. Oh, debt box case. Now, I'm not familiar with debt box case. You know, we can find out what that is. But they completely had a debacle. Somebody ended up quitting at the high level of the SEC, obviously saying found another job, but that's BS. We know they got caught red-handed multiple times, as far as Tom Emmer's explaining in this video, and they're in trouble. Now, what can we get from this video? What can we get from this piece of news? One is that there's a lot of pressure to allow crypto to flow, to just move naturally the way it needs to. And you know what's going to happen when that happens. It's going to fly, all right? There's too much pressure on them. Now, are they going to strike back? You know, the empire strikes back. Sure, I'm sure a guy like Mr. Gensler isn't going to take this laying down. He's going to have some comeback and go on some attack rampage again and see what he gets away with, because he is a puppet and the handlers are the big, you know, banking mafia that have been there for, you know, the iron bag, thousands of years. So we have to be ready for that. But you better believe once he's done on his next, whatever that is, crypto is going to fly. This bull run, whether there's an interruption here or not, is going to be outrageous. BTC will absolutely go into the 6 figures. Pulse chain will do hundreds of X's. I think 1,000X, which is what I put in my last video. And it's going to be mind-blowing. So the powers that be are going to replace him. In worst case scenario, if he doesn't get replaced, there's enough people that are going to put pressure on him to back off. So that's what we need to know. Now, let me show you guys pDAI. This is very cool. Oh, here's Tom Emmer. Yeah, he's a hockey player too. 6th District. Cool. Let's watch this funny video right here. This is great. This is from pDAI on Pulse Chain. I don't know who made this. I apologize. But he posted it. It's super cool.
When you say ERC20 copies applies to stablecoins as well? Yep. So you'll have USDC on both sides, but USDC has an admin key that can just invalidate all the coins that will anywhere they want, but their users will probably sue them. So I don't know what will happen with stablecoins. Some stablecoins don't have an admin key. Like I don't think pDAI has an admin key, but USDC and USDT do. When you say ERC20 copies applies to stablecoins.
No admin keys. I think somebody was already plotting, as we see in the eyes of Mr. De Niro here, that this was just juicy for a takeover, which is what we think happened. Let's go read what p-DaiMaxi put up today. 9 Iron Capital. You guys have heard of him. He was one of the people that had done a ton of early reports on what was happening on pDAI. We learned so much from him. He inspired a lot of other channels to start talking about pDAI. So he's just done some research. A lot of people noticed there was a big change between DAI versus USDC, okay? The ratio between them violently moved and changed, all right? And here's what he had to say about that. And you can see right here on this chart here, okay? USDC was trending down. All of a sudden, this shot up, almost pegging, and DAI took a move down. And I'll show you that really quick. Can I just switch? Okay, here we go. You can see DAI did a nosedive straight down and that, okay? And we'll come back to this in just a second. Let me show you what he said. All right, just like that, the arb between pUSDC and pDAI is closed. You can see that there's billions of pUSD added to the pMaker vault at this address. Maybe we'll go look at that. Everything's working perfectly. The next hire has begun. Resume the pegging. All right. A lot of FUD came out when this happened because a lot of people did not buy pDAI when they were told to, and they're just butthurt about it, and that's fine. Because even where we are now, you're hundreds of X's away from $1. So I don't know what they're crying about. It's a great time to still be DCAing into this, but there was a ton of FUD that came out because they didn't understand what was happening. And there's mechanics to the pegging. It's just not. It's not going to move like a meme coin guy and just go to like $1. There's a whole process involved in this. Okay, and let's go back into this, and he'll explain a little bit, and I'll break it down for you guys. Okay, to be clear, there is no free way to mint pDAI. It isn't possible anymore since RH took control of the governance system, locked the voting system, and updated the pricing oracles. This is all on chain. All right. So what happened back in the summer is somebody did a test mint of pDAI. All right. It worked, and then they took control of the pMaker protocol. Okay, on the Pulse side, and closed that function. All right. Now it's closed. No one can get in there and mint it. It's completely locked. Someone took control of the governance system of it. Okay, and there was a large sum of money, I believe, roughly around 170 million, that was already in to collateralize that. So whoever did it was not anybody. It was somebody that had that almost $250 million laying around. All right. So we can theorize who that might be. All right. The only way to mint pDAI is to add collateral that has been approved by pMaker governance system into the vault. This is what is happening. The new pDAI minted today, okay, because the supply went up, is completely offset 1-to-1 with pUSD that is committed to the pMaker vaults. So there was collateral put in, but it's locked, okay? And we're not going to go into this fully debang thing, but I can put this link down below. I'll actually just put a link to the tweet, and you guys can go in and research this in depth. The wallets that are interacting with pMaker at the moment have been here since the launch of Pulse Chain. That's 100% correct. They were there since right before Pulse Chain launched. So it was somebody that had access to all this stuff and knowledge of what was happening who did all this. They basically control P-Balance and P-Sieve, which is Curve Finance, huge interlinked ecosystems that are very important for the pDAI and pMaker story. They're not negative forces, okay? Because we're going to use, all these things are going to be used to collateralize it, and to also move other assets in and out of the collateralization system, which is going to be made up of probably Curve and Balancer too. And it's going to be very complex because you can imagine, and I'll go into detail in another video, okay, I'm not going to do it right here, but you could imagine at some point somebody might collateralize the vaults with Pulse, PulseX, Inc., and Hex. I don't know. It's just an idea. It's possible. All right. And so that's going to require some, or an oracle, and then the organization of all these apps. Okay. I'm in the process of digging through the transactions. My view is that they have reprogrammed P-Balancer and are in the process of setting up a P-stable pool, just like RH has set up. P-Bal is a market maker for this and will allow low slippage movements into and out of pDAI. Okay, that's kind of what I was getting at. Like the collateralization it's gonna be an active thing that's gonna constantly be happening. So you need the assistance of P-Balancer and Curve Finance, and we'll learn more about how those work in another video. All right, this is positive. Also, pUSDT is not an approved collateral in pMaker today. It isn't on Maker either. This doesn't mean it wouldn't be added through the pMaker governance system in the future. I would also expect Hex, PLS, and PulseX to be approved collateral soon, which is what I just said earlier. All in all, this is the start of the next leg of the stories we've all been discussing. For more information and real-time commentary, jump in the chat. Okay, so yeah, I'll put a link to 9 Iron Capital in this video. You guys can go join the chat, learn more, have questions, any corrections too on what you're hearing here, anything you have to say. Pretty certain Maria also spoke of this parity requirement for the pegging process. Maria knows and sees all. All right. Why would Richard need a Maria for this? If the construct with the pMaker is fully implemented, Richard wouldn't need anyone besides himself. Now, for you guys who don't know, Maria is the 414. It's Maria Rahel. It's a developer that created the Atropa ecosystem. All right, and I got videos about Atropa in my channel if you don't know much about it yet. Not saying he needs him at all, but this doesn't mean that Maria doesn't know how this will peg. I'm just saying it's pretty sure he mentioned something very briefly about the P stables being closer to parity before the peg. All right. And that's good. Now, let's go look really quick at the chart, and so you guys can see what happened and why all the FUD was just FUD. It was dumb. It was dumb. All right. So we had, and I made update videos just going back a week, 2 weeks, where I talk about this channel that I came into. I have not touched my chart in months. This is the exact chart I've had in every video going back for months and months. This box has not moved. And you can see we bounced off it. We did that run up. We came down. We came right in it, and we made a higher low right here. And I believe I made my video, my last video, price update here. And I told you guys we'll probably go back in, but all the conditions to go up have been met. All right. We've tested everything that needed to be tested back here. All right. So we can consolidate here or we could go up. And I said that in my video, and look what happened. We came back in, did a retest. We made a higher low, which was obvious. A good amount of volume was coming in there, and we took off like a bat out of, you know what I'm talking about. Now, this is the top of the last high. There's a ton of confluence here, creating support, and you can see we bounced here, went up again. We bounced, we went up, and we've broken just below it, okay? Now, these kind of support lines, you know, you can debate on whether this support is here or is it here. I had it up slightly higher, and I don't need to move it because I understand it's just like, for example, you know, it's a range, like support and resistance sometimes can be like a range, a tiny little range, right? So it could be in this area. So has it broken below? I don't think so. I think it's still holding on support because this is where, let me show you a little closer here, okay? Let me go to the 8 hour. I'm going to show you this really quick. See where it came up and it got rejected and it came down and did a retest blast through. So we've got a ton of support here and here. So this is kind of like a tiny channel we have, all right? So it's hanging out just fine, all right? Now, the reason it came down wasn't because somebody sold. It was because there was minting, because there was it was balancing itself with the pUSDC because they all are apparently going to come to some kind of parity. And if you notice, the prices, they move similar as well. All right. Most people just got in pDAI because we know somebody was in full control of it, and this will be the main stable of Pulse Chain. But you're happy to also deploy, you know, to make a position in pUSDC as well. There's pUSDT. But for example, for me, I just stick with pDAI, okay? So if this breaks here for whatever reason, maybe people get shaken out, they want to sell, or you have a ton of support right here, 0.002, and then down here, 0.0017. Pardon me. So we're looking good, okay? Things that don't look good, they don't hit support so cleanly and accurately. This is, once again, a beautiful chart. I think we're in DCA territory. I don't see anything wrong at all. If you're still accumulating, you can be DCA. Let's just do some playing here really quick. I'll do this with you guys. Does that mean anything to me? I don't know if that's important, is it? Let's see what this is. Let's see. Yeah, it could be something. Could be something. So, you know, maybe you've got this support going up because you definitely see a trend of higher lows. It's constantly making these, even when it comes down, these higher lows. It seems to be following this trend. So now we got something here to look at, and the support's getting higher and higher. So your opportunities to DCA at a great price are going to start dwindling soon. It's possible we come back in here and test some of this again. Once again, DCA, because we're not making lower lows. doesn't look like people are selling. That's what I'm saying. All right. Now, what else do we got? We saw this guy. I got a new pDAI video coming out soon. I'm going to go in depth at what's going on and how it collateralizes and stuff that'll help you out. In the meantime, I hope you guys love this video. Subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.